Hey, what's up, everybody? Hey, listen, today I want to actually go through the process of sales and selling and give you some tips and strategies. I know so many people get scared to do selling for their product and service, and yet the best way you're going to be able to impact the marketplace and have success is to be able to sell. And I think that most of you are involved in sales, whether you like it or not, whether you have kids or relationships or business. So I'm going to go through some steps to the sale, go overcoming some objections and rebuttals, and I hope this is something that'll help you with some techniques and strategies. All right, welcome back to the Daily Mastermind. George Wright III with your daily dose of inspiration, motivation, and education. Today I'm excited to kind of digress and talk about a different type of topic here on the podcast. We're going to talk about the art of selling. In fact, I'm hoping in a very short period of time to basically give you a masterclass on selling. So before we waste any more time, I'm going to jump to the Daily Mastermind quote of the day. And the quote of the day is, "The question isn't who is going to let me, it's who is going to stop me." That's the attitude you need to have in business, in life. It's not about who is going to let you, it's who's going to stop you. The bottom line is this: you've got to take action. And selling is one of those topics that I actually have not covered on the podcast before. And it's pretty ironic because my entire life has been sales. I've gone from sales to marketing and so on. You know, I got married right out of high school, had twins. And so I had to do something that I know could provide a living and an income and support a family, and commission sales was it. So I've done all kinds of different selling. Now, you might be asking yourself, George, why am I going to listen to this podcast? What does selling have to do with me if you're not a salesperson? And I'm going to tell you right now, if you haven't figured this out, one of the most important skills that you can develop in business and in life in general is selling. It's the art of persuasion and sales, which translates also into communication. Because everything you do, no matter what you're doing, you're always selling, always selling. You're selling your kids on certain things. You're selling people that you're with on certain things. You're selling your product and service. You're selling your ideas to the marketplace. You're selling your passions in the world. The bottom line is you have to be able to learn and develop the skill of sales, because sales is a skill and it's something you can master. A lot of people think of salespeople as, oh man, I don't want to be a salesperson, or I'm not good at selling. But the bottom line is sales is no different than any other skill. You can develop it. And when you learn the anatomy of a sale, when you learn the techniques in selling, that'll help you. So I'll try to cover some of those for you today. But just to give you a little bit of idea on my background, look, I've done everything from door-to-door sales. I've sold memberships to wholesale clubs door-to-door when I was growing up. I've done car sales, working at dealerships. I've done telemarketing. I've sold from stages in front of thousands of people. I've done one-on-one consulting sales. I've had my insurance licenses. So I've done a lot of different kinds of sales, but probably the sales that I've done the most is to employees and partners and colleagues. Because working your ideas and negotiating and all those types of things all fall into this category of sales. So I want you to think about sales as something that you want to master the skill of, so you can learn to communicate better, so that you can learn to understand and comprehend things better. And sales is also an amazing way to get better at problem solving. Because if you can solve people's problems, that's going to help you. Now, this is what sales is not. Sales is not manipulating people to a way or to a thing or a path or a process they don't want to go to. It's not about doing things that are unethical. It's not about the difficult, overwhelming personality traits of a salesperson. You've got to realize that there are certain aspects of sales that people don't like, that they don't want. But that is not what I'm talking about today. What I'm talking about is, most importantly, filling a need, whether it's your product or service, a relationship, a parenting role, whatever it is, filling a need through the art of persuasion. And mastery and confidence with sales will come from learning skills and developing and mastering the skill of sales. And so if you spend a little bit of time, and I'll give you a brief outline of some things you can try and implement in your business today, but if you learn to implement certain skills when it comes to sales, you'll find you'll be a better communicator. You'll find that you'll be more confident. You'll have more self-esteem. All those things, believe it or not, every one of those things increases when you increase your results. And sales, by far, is the number one way that you can increase your results in anything in life. So let me talk to you a little bit about the steps to a sale. Now, I know that most sales processes can be different. Most of the time when you're selling, you're not thinking through this. But if you really go back and think about it and you look at it, and if you've ever been involved in sales, you're going to realize that there are certain steps that you lead someone to a desired outcome. Sales is going to be your process of leading someone from where they're at to the desired process or outcome or destination that you want to help them to get to, whether that's buying your product, whether it's adopting your frame of mind or your viewpoint, whatever it is, there's a step and a process you're going to go through with that. So I'm going to give you on a generic level the sales process that you would take if you were trying to basically sell a product or a service to an individual or in the marketplace. And these same steps you would do physically and verbally selling, you can translate into marketing collateral as well. But these are the steps to the sale. The first step is the introduction. You always want to introduce yourself and create the credibility of who you are and why you're talking to somebody. We're not going to get into details of different types of markets, but always introduce yourself, who you are, what you're there for, what you're trying to do. And then you immediately follow it up with the second step of the sale, which is the blast. We call it a blast because what you want to do is you want to give that headline. You want to give that irresistible offer. You want to give that major bullet point, which is filling the need of whoever it is you're talking with. So I might introduce myself as, hi, my name's George Wright from the Daily Mastermind, and today I'm calling you or talking with you or whatever to help you do this, this, and this. And, in this podcast, for example, I'm here to help you with inspiration, motivation, and education. So now you've got the topic out there. You've got the headline, the call to action or not the call to action, but the main objective you're trying to do for the client. You're getting their attention. Right? This blast or this intention getter is the very next thing that you want to do. Then, and this is the most critical step of selling, you want to move into the probe and qualify. What you want to do as a salesperson in a typical selling process is you want to ask questions and qualify your potential prospect. Most people will actually skip this step because they're uncomfortable with asking questions. But what I've found is that if you want to create confidence, you want to ask questions. One of the things I learned a long time ago from sales trainer Tom Hopkins is that you can control a conversation with questions, especially if someone starts taking control of the conversation by asking you, well, what do you do? And why do you do this? And da-da-da-da-da. You can immediately take control of any conversation by asking questions. And here's the bottom line. You don't want to be going through a sales process unless you know whether that prospect is qualified to buy your product and whether or not you know how to sell that product. So after you do the introduction and the blast, the attention getter, you want to probe and qualify. You want to ask questions about what their needs are, what their pain points are, what they're looking to accomplish, why they're looking for something, whether it's looking for a car or a product or a service or anything that you offer. Why is it they're looking? What is it that they're judging the result by? And then you want to qualify. After you probe with questions and get to understand your prospect, you want to qualify them. Are they in a position to make a decision? Because if they're not in a position to make a decision or they're not the decision maker, you don't want to waste time selling your whole product to them until they are in that position. You want to ask them if they're serious and what their qualifications are, whether or not they have the money, the time, the motivation to invest in your product. Because see, a lot of times we're so busy to jump to the next step, which is presenting what you have to offer, that we don't stop to actually talk to somebody and find out what they want. And we don't stop to talk to someone and find out if they are in a position and if they're ready to buy. If they're not ready to buy, then you want to know that right away because you might want to set up a conversation with them, with the decision maker. You might want to set up a conversation when they are ready to buy, because if you just go and present your whole product, then you're just kind of throwing it all out there. So you want to start by introducing yourself, creating the attention. Then you want to probe and get to know their needs and qualify them. Then, and only then, you want to go jump into the presentation of your product. See, a lot of people, like I said, have skipped those earlier steps, and they, if you've ever went and bought a car, now nowadays you can buy it online and they got one pricing and things, but back in my day, you went to a dealership, you had to go in to buy a car and you had to work with salespeople, and inexperienced sales rep, somebody would come in and say, I'd like to test drive that car, and they'd go test drive it, and then they'd bring them in, and then you'd spend hours trying to negotiate a deal. I don't know if you've ever sat down with a salesman that doesn't do a good job, and you spend hours negotiating price and things, only to find out you're not ready, or it's not the right vehicle, or you're not ready to make a decision. Whereas a good sales professional has asked enough qualifying and probing questions that they know exactly what you're looking for. And when they go to present, they're going to present that product. You're going to present your product to hit exactly what those hot points and bullets are that they want. So the selling process becomes very simple. It becomes more consultative. And then after you've done your presentation, and I would say that 1/2 of your discussion with someone in sales is that first intro, attention, probe, and qualify. Then maybe 1/4 of it is your presentation, and then the last 1/4 is where you want to do a little trial closing and overcome objections and close the sale. And when I say trial close, I mean you can ask them buying questions like, if you were to get my product, what would you do? And when would you use this product? Or who would benefit the most from the product? And when they start to answer those questions like they've already purchased it, those are trial closes, and that's when you know that they're willing to make the decision to go forward. Now, I want to be, just for the sake of time, that's the process of the sale. Introduction, blast, probe, qualify, presentation, trial close, and close. Those are the steps. When you skip steps, you're going to be a far less effective salesperson. But I want to give you 2 strategies that I use to overcome objections and rebuttals. Meaning, when someone has I don't have the money, I don't have the time, I'm not interested right now, let me think about it. Most of those will be not excuses if you've qualified and probed your prospect up front, right? Because you can say, listen, we talked about that, you said you were in a position to make a decision. But there are 2, actually I'm going to share one really good rebuttal and way for you to overcome an objection. Because a lot of times when somebody gives you an excuse, you might be trying to fumbling around for answers and things. And there's a simple formula called feel, felt, found. The feel, felt, found formula for overcoming an objection for your product is one I use to this day. Because what people want to know is they want to know that you understand where they're coming from, you understand their objection, but you lead them, you guide them into the answer for that. So let's say someone says, listen, I've tried that thing before. It doesn't really work for me. And I use this feel, felt, found. What I might say is hey, listen, I understand how you feel. And in your position, I might have felt the same way. But what I've found is that if you do this, you can apply the change. Let's go ahead and get you in that product today. Or let's go ahead and help you get that going today. And so using this feel, felt, found is a very simple, smooth way to be able to relate to the customer, bridge them over to the solution that you find to overcome their objection. So if they have an objection, whatever it is, you might say, hey, listen, I understand how you feel, and I might have felt the same way, but this is what I've found. And then you can overcome that objection, and it makes it sound like you're really leading people to the position and place that you want to get them to. And that's my recommendation as one of the strategies. Now, maybe we can do a bunch of other sales type training. I offer that in the academy as well as some other things. But the bottom line is this. If you'll follow this sales process, and you'll accept and understand that selling is a way for you to believe that you can create an answer, a solution to the needs that your client, your prospect has, you'll have more confidence, you'll do a better job at selling. And if you'll follow those steps to the sale and you really take that time to qualify and probe and get to know your client, the process of selling is going to be very simple. It's going to be very consultative. And those are my suggestions. I know I've had multiple people ask me how to do this because I've trained literally thousands of salespeople. And that is, in a really high level nutshell, the steps to the sale, one of the most common rebuttals that you can use for an objection. And just keep in mind this, like anything in life, failing 5 times faster will get you the result. Sales is just a numbers game. You've got to be willing to do it, and you've got to be willing to go through the numbers. And the more you practice and master the skill of sales, the more confident you'll be, the less overwhelming and fearful you'll be, and the more results you'll be. So I hope those are some strategies, some techniques, and things that'll help you. I'd love to get some feedback from you. So comment back on this post if it's in Facebook or Instagram, or hit me back up on the Daily Mastermind on Instagram or Facebook, and let me know what you think of this. And share this podcast. I think you'd be surprised how many people would benefit from this topic. And that's my message for today. Have an amazing day. I'll look forward to talking with you more tomorrow. This is George Wright III, and this has been the Daily Mastermind.